Madam Chairman, members of the C.R.A., Glenn Gromann, 2201 Northwest Corporate Boulevard, Boca Raton, Florida. Chairman of the Downtown Boca Raton Advisory Committee, here to report on the meeting which took place on April 17, 2013. We have several new members to the Downtown Advisory Committee. So what we thought we'd do is we had Mr. Derek Vanderploeg, who's also another member on the committee, make a presentation as to the background of the establishment of the C.R.A., but more importantly, the history and the current status of the pattern book, also known as the interim design guidelines. This way, the new committee members could be brought up to speed as to what was going on with regards to that. So Derek made a rather lengthy and well-orchestrated presentation. And I will say that the consensus of the new downtown committee members was that we should move forward and actually finish this project and get the design guidelines formalized and finished. I believe there was a briefing book prepared, and there's some minor issues left to resolve. But again, the consensus was to get that done and get it finished and get a coordination with the TDLC program as well. So the next item on the agenda was, as you know, we were one member short on the downtown committee. Mr. Bruce Herman, who is with the Boca Raton Museum of Art, had applied for the position, but he is not a resident of the city of Boca Raton. So after discussion, the committee recommends, or recommended by motion, that an exception be granted to Mr. Herman for him to be able to serve on the committee, notwithstanding his non-resident status. Again, this item and the next item I'll discuss, there are obviously enabling ordinances, and we might have to make some modifications to them should the C.R.A. so desire. Next, Peg Greenspan gave us an update on the current Business Improvement District Steering Committee. That committee is to be comprised of 5 members. There are only 4 current members. We're 1 member short. The problem with that is that if 1 member should not appear at the meeting, there is no quorum, and really not much of anything can be done. So with regards to that, there was a discussion and also a motion made that a sort of a 2-part thing to address this, and that is either we reduce the quorum to 3 members, or as an alternative measure, we allow a at-large member from the committee to be selected, and so that there's always a quorum available. Now, again, I indicated to the rest of the committee that there was obviously an enabling ordinance which would probably have to be amended in that regard to permit such a thing, but that was the recommendation of the committee. No other business took place. So if you have any questions.
No questions of you, Mr. Gromann. I'm going to ask the city attorney, however, should it be the commissioner's desire to change the Downtown Advisory Board requirements to include a member who is not a resident of the city of Boca Raton, the procedure that we would need to follow to do that?
I'd have to research the code. I can report tomorrow back to the City Council. Okay,
so I'll request that we do that, as well as the bid committee to investigate. If I would prefer, if at all possible, that we go with the at-large person as opposed to lowering the quorum, because I think we want as many people involved as possible. Are there any other commissioners who would like to comment?
Yeah, no, that sounds like a good way to do it, so I don't have an issue with that.
Anyone else?
So you're saying that an at-large person can live outside the city?
No, this would be for the Business Improvement District. It's a subcommittee of the Downtown Advisory Committee, and currently it's a 5-member committee, but there are only 4 members.
Yeah, I know.
So yes, that person, if they're at large, that person also, we would want that person to also be able to potentially be the one who is serving on the committee that is a non-resident.
Well, no, Madam Chairman. Really,
there's something wrong here.
The at-large suggestion was that there'd be a rolling member rolling, pre-existing member of the existing downtown committee that could fill in as an at-large member. It didn't have to be a single person. In other words, in order to have a quorum, in order to have 5 members, for example, it could be the 4 original members and one other person, and then each different meeting that could be a different person, the same person, or something of that nature. But there was no suggestion that that person not be a member of not be a resident of the city.
Yeah, there was no residential requirements based on that large person.
Yeah, two
Correct.
different
Correct. The residential scenario dealt with the fact that although Mr. Herman is an employee of the Museum of Art, he actually is not a downtown business owner because nobody really owns the Museum of Art, and that was the basis for that proposed exception. Which
Well, we've got the same situation on the Marine Board, and you know, frankly, in light of the situation and how many people kind of come and go, you know, I wouldn't want somebody to be on the board that lives someplace else and works someplace else. That would not interest me at all. But we have some very, very, very fine, qualified people that have been in our city and worked in our city for years and years and have tremendous experience. But you know, they live one step out of the city, and kind of the old library issue, you know. But I don't see if there is not another specifically qualified person that lives both in the city and works in the city, then I think that's the change that we need to make, is allowing,
So
I mean, we do
potentially-
it on the Greater Beach and Tax District. I mean, there's nothing strange about that.
So, Commissioner Welch, are you suggesting also then we ask the city attorney to craft the document so that it would
if we
include the
want
Marine
to change that
Industries
rule, we
Association?
can change that rule, if we want to. I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
Madam Chair, I certainly support being more inclusive, and through an amendment of that kind that, you know, allows greater participation in any of these boards.
And I concur. Commissioner Malay or Majors, any comments?
Well, as far as the having a member who works downtown, there has to be some connection with the city. And I don't know how we work that out, but something like that. As regards to things for the BDB, what having an at-large member who can show up and could get a phone call, I don't know, out of the tub whenever they wanted to or whatever, how does that differ from having a quorum of 3? I mean, as a practical matter.
Well, Commissioner Millay, what there would be is there would be, currently, again, there are 5 seats, 4 are occupied, and there could be an on-call at-large member to make sure that at every meeting there was a quorum. Should there be, someone who calls and says they can't make it, well, then you call the at-large member, and that person comes.
Why don't we just
Nonetheless,
fill
there are
the
only 3
seat?
people.
Why don't we just fill the 5th seat?
We tried to volunteer some of the other members of the committee, and we haven't been so lucky.
So you're asking more for an alternate position than an at-large. You're asking that we create an alternate position from the main downtown advisory committee that can serve as an alternate when members are not available?
Probably better described as an alternate. Okay. Theoretically, the requirement in the ordinance is that you would have to be on the Downtown Advisory Committee in order to serve on the BID. And the problem is that I'm assuming, and again, I'm just guessing at this, I'm assuming the reason that we don't have a 5th member is because we do have the BID meetings, as I understand, are at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there are scheduling issues. However, scheduling issues to do it on a full-time basis, not necessarily to do it on an alternate basis, so that we, for whatever reason, if there was an important piece of business before BID, there'd be somebody who would be able to take a vote. And again, the members of the Downtown Advisory Committee are routinely updated on what goes on the BID, and we discuss it all the time. It wouldn't be something that they wouldn't be necessarily familiar with.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Gromann.